Scared for Reals.
Hey, it's Chris O'Neill.
And Adam Perry.
Yes, we're going to be talking about a new body horror film. We haven't really talked about body horror. All right, before I go any further, this is a brand new movie. This is The Substance. This is the second film from Coralie Fargeat. I don't know if you've seen any of like she only has like one other movie. Did you ever see Revenge? I know it's on Shudder.
I haven't seen. I've seen it on Shudder, and it's on my watch list. I just haven't watched it yet.
Yeah, I mean, she's that's her only other full length feature. She's done some short movies, but yeah, I was kind of not interested in it first, Adam, because again, I'm a movie snob. But again, what I was trying to say. Like, subscribe to Scared for Reals on YouTube so you never miss an episode. You get a notification as soon as you open an app that there's a new episode for you to listen to. But yeah, The Substance, got a satirical body horror monster movie.
All right.
So, again, I would never believe, like when I was a kid, if I ever got excited about a movie with Demi Moore and Dennis Quaid. I've never been excited for a movie with those two in it.
All right.
I mean, I loved Demi Moore in A Few Good Men. To me, that's her best overall film. I mean, Ghost was an okay movie, not because she was in it. And then you look at Dennis Quaid. I've never been a huge fan of his, but he was great in Traffic. That was,
Dennis Quaid is kind of one of those actors that you wouldn't go to see him starring, but he enhances a movie pretty well.
Yeah, I never thought that. I never really thought of him as an enhancer. Yeah. In a movie. I always thought he tried too hard in some cases.
Yeah,
but this movie I didn't mind. I mean, The Substance. This was supposed to be Ray Liotta instead of Dennis Quaid, but obviously Ray Liotta passed away. So this movie's been in development for a couple of years at least.
Okay.
So, I mean, the last movie she made was full-length movie was 2017. So I hope we get to see more from Coralie. She actually won Best Screenplay at the Cannes Film Festival.
Oh,
so,
cool.
I mean, the Cannes Film Festival. Cannes. I'm not good with French, but it's a Cannes Film Festival.
It's the popular one.
Yeah, and it's winning Best Screenplay, that's prestigious. You don't think of body horror movies doing well, but there was Titan, that was a couple of years ago, Julia Ducournau, amazing film. It's my favorite film from 2021. Again, 30 years ago, a body horror film being my favorite film of the year. Never thought that would happen.
Right.
We'll probably talk about that movie later on, but they've been making some interesting horror movies. As I mentioned to Adam off air, it's just been 2024, even more so than 2023.
What a year for horror. What a year for horror.
I mean, 2022 I thought was brilliant. We hadn't seen a huge amount of movies that were horror movies that were decent in ages. And to see like every week I've been rating these horror movies like 3 or 4 stars.
Right.
Some of the best films this year have been horror movies.
Yeah.
The independent horror films.
Yeah.
Now this one has a $17.5 million budget, so this is a little bit more than most of them. I think Universal's involved a little bit, but Mubi is the one this is a Mubi film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that streaming channel.
No, I haven't.
Well, they've been making some interesting movies the past few years. Decision to Leave was notable. Park Chan-wook, the guy who did Old Boy, he had a romantic thriller film that had kind of echoes of Vertigo in it. That was a couple of years ago. And The Meanest Girl in the World, a romantic comedy, from Sweden, I believe. But yeah, I mean, this is I'm still trying to let it sink in what I witnessed at the movie theater.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at the notes here. Like I've never heard of these production companies, Working Title Films and Blacksmith. I've never heard of them.
Working Title has been they're a good independent one that's been around for a while.
Yeah,
but some of this stuff is All right, let's try to dive into the plot here the best I can. Again, spoiler alert, because this movie is still in theaters by the time you're hearing this. I mean, Demi Moore is the main star here. I mean, Dennis Quaid, he's a supporting actor. Not the nicest guy, but you have Demi Moore. She's a star of a popular TV aerobics show. She is fired on her 50th birthday and gets in a car accidentally after seeing her billboard getting taken down. So this movie is just, that's how, like, the story part of it. Literally, the movie opens up, though, Adam, before we get to Demi Moore, the fame, the glamour. You've got this crack egg in the center of the screen, and then someone injects a luminous substance into it, okay? And you think the yolk is going to, like, burst, but no, that doesn't happen. The egg produces an identical yolk.
Oh, interesting.
And as I mentioned to you off air, the Stanley Kubrick visuals.
Yeah.
You've got David Cronenberg and David Lynch vibes. So all of that together makes for
one hell of a body horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But it's, how Stanley Kubrick, had those interesting, they seem simplistic, but they were very interesting visuals that he had throughout his movies. So the production design, like literally she goes in the bathroom, you think you're in the bathroom in The Shining.
Oh, cool.
And the hallway seemed kind of reminiscent of either A Clockwork Orange or The Shining.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got that kind of imagery, which kind of sets the tone. And of course the music is you got some electronic music, but some of it's very, again, the feel of dread.
Yeah.
So you got that. I mean, it's pretty much the movie opens up quietly. You don't really hear anything. You hear a cracked egg and you see the yolk, but there's no sound. And then you got Demi Moore's Elizabeth Sparkle is the name of her character. What a name.
Yeah.
And she recalls her career through her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And it's an interesting shot. The star is placed, adored for a while, then dismissed, cracked, and defaced with spilled fast food. So again, the whole analogy of getting older, especially someone who's like a movie star or a popular TV star, you kind of wonder if this kind of was personal for Demi Moore, who's noted for all of her plastic surgery that she's had over the years.
Right.
I don't know if you remember hearing about all that stuff.
I don't really follow the Hollywood gossip. Just about every major star in Hollywood has done something or another.
But it's the whole Fountain of Youth thing, and that's what that's part of what the movie is about.
Yep.
So she's fired from her popular aerobics show, as I was kind of mentioning at the beginning here. She's told by her producer, Dennis Quaid, he's very chauvinistic and he's very cocky, and he plays it over the top. Now, Dennis Quaid, I've always said, he overdoes it. He kind of just goes over the top. I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah, no, I get it.
He has a tendency to do that quite a bit, and that's why I'm not a huge fan of his.
Yep.
Even Reagan, we saw the Reagan movie. I mean, there are moments in there he overdoes it.
Yeah.
But in this movie, his overacting definitely is advantageous to the whole movie.
Gotcha.
I mean, it actually works very well. You see close-ups. You have the David Lynch kind of close-ups. I don't know if you've seen a lot of David Lynch movies.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about.
Like Inland Empire, that was his last movie. The alarming close-ups in that movie. That's what it kind of reminded me of, in a way. The David Cronenberg gore stuff we'll talk about as the movie progresses. But yeah, she recalls her career through her star on Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's a really interesting shot. It's like nothing is moving except for the things around the star. It's like, boom, the Hollywood star and everyone walking around it. Amazing filming right there. So Dennis Quaid, the chauvinistic producer, says they need a new, younger face. And on her way home, she gets involved in a really nasty car accident because she's not paying attention to the road. She's noticing they take her billboard down. So she's just like alarmed at that, and boom, she gets in a wicked car crash. But she seems fine. She got a couple of bruises, but you look at the car in the movie, and it's like, wow, how she survived that. So she's handed this mysterious USB from a young assistant doctor. He mentions that she's the perfect candidate. He's like feeling up and down her spine. It's like pinching it a little bit, and it's like very odd.
Yeah.
And he mentions she's a perfect candidate, and he somehow sneaks in the USB with a note inside her jacket, because she notices it when she gets home. So she plugs the hard drive in. She is met with an abrasive, bold TV advertisement played to this compulsive techno soundtrack, which I mentioned. It's kind of interesting. And after eventually feeling her situation is kind of inescapable, because these things keep happening where she kind of feels she doesn't want to go into that world.
Yeah.
This is where it's like, trust your gut instincts.
Yeah.
Because, but if she totally ignored it, threw it out, like she does throw it out after watching it, but then later on she picks it out of the garbage and decides to call. Mm-hmm. And, well, after injecting herself, you get the first taste of a David Cronenberg body horror kind of vibe here, because she just falls flat on the floor of her bathroom, and the spine and the back open up, and out comes another person.
Oh,
probably wouldn't expect that watching that. Because she's given all these warnings that she's going to have a different self, but it's not someone else. It's you. That's what the mysterious voice. You don't get to meet the quote unquote doctor or the mastermind behind this substance. That's what it's called, just the substance, which name of the movie.
Right.
It's good for a title card too.
Yeah.
So she's trying to read these instructions, but like basically she has to follow it to a detail. There's some food that she has to inject herself with, and the other self, which is a younger person, you get Margaret Qualley. I don't know if you've ever seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Did you ever watch it?
Yep.
Remember the kind of the hippie girl that flirts with Brad Pitt's character?
Yep.
That's Margaret Qualley. She's brilliant in this movie. So it's really interesting how it's like a fetus of some kind, birthed right out her back.
Huh.
Her entire backside is like split open.
Really?
It's just very interesting.
So it's kind of like a snake's shedding its skin or something like
that? It kind of does feel that way in a way. I didn't think of it that way. But it's like she's giving birth, but it's coming out of her back.
Yeah.
It's very strange. It's fetal, sticky, and it's like it's very realistic looking in a way too. But
yeah,
and it's got that dystopian type of feel too. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
futuristic. So the starkness of the horror makes the whole concept like a twisted possibility. So Elizabeth's younger form, her name is Sue. She sews her up, attaches the feeding fluid to Elizabeth through a tube, and then she heads out to the audition because they're looking for the next Elizabeth Sparkle.
Right.
That's what the advert reads in the paper. Mm. So she auditions, and she just encapsulates everything I guess Elizabeth was missing from her youth, because it is Elizabeth in a younger form, just a different looking face, basically, because that's the thing. The doctor said, you are you. This person is you, not another person.
Yeah.
That was one thing that was made clear. You have to feed this person, and you have to take a break for 7 days, because it's all about balance.
Yeah.
It's very implicit. So she goes straight for 7 days, and then Elizabeth does the same to her, make sure she gets her food, and then Elizabeth is her for 7 days, and then it's back and forth. But the key is Elizabeth has to get re-upped once a week for the food supply, so she can plug in Sue.
Yeah.
So she can do her thing. But, a movie like this also has a film noir aspect to it because, this seems like a perfect thing, but it just doesn't end up that way.
Nothing's perfect.
Especially when you try to play God.
Yeah, there's...
Anytime these people try to play God, it can't end very well. So, I mean, at this point...
It's like the fine print or the really fast talking on the... supplement commercials you see on TV.
Right.
They just all the side effects they talk about really quickly, but you can't really hear.
But they don't mention any of that. It's very straightforward.
Right.
It's all about balance. Don't mess with this balance.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, this person is you. You can't refer to them as her or he.
Yeah.
Because this person is you. It's just a different version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something important that seems to get forgotten. But anyway, Sue is getting all the glory. When Sue is asleep, Elizabeth notices that. She kind of gets jealous. So she sees like the billboard. It's like literally she opens the curtain in her apartment and boom, there's Sue's billboard right there, right where she was at one point. So... So Elizabeth manages to stick to the guidelines of the substance, switching every 7 days like she's supposed to. But eventually, Sue, her lifestyle becomes compulsive, difficult to give up. So she extends her time in Sue's body by injecting more fluid from Elizabeth into Sue. But going against the instructions, you're not supposed to do that.
Nope.
There are some devastating consequences. So one of Elizabeth's fingers is aging rapidly. On the way back to picking up one of her refills, Elizabeth fears she is being followed and ends up in a diner. And Demi Moore does a great job. I mean, in this movie, it's just like, why didn't she do anything this good before?
Right.
I mean, this is just really good stuff. I mean, yes, there's a lot of nudity in this, Adam, so it'd probably be up your alley, naked women and everything.
Why not?
That was just a joke. But Demi Moore I was reading like some of the behind the scenes. She was very uncomfortable at first. Mm-hmm. Margaret Qualley kind of helped her out, but I mean, Demi Moore is 61, 62 years old now.
Right.
So she had no problem with it in her 20s and 30s.
Well, of course. I mean, we're all getting older. We all know, our bodies change. And it's got to be uncomfortable for a 60-year-old to put herself out like it, but good for her. I mean, to have the confidence in herself to find the confidence in herself.
Right. Yeah. Margaret
that.
Qualley apparently helped Demi Moore get more confident about doing that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But Sue is getting more extra time, injecting more fluid from Elizabeth into herself. And again, Elizabeth is starting to feel more lonely, and she meets this older looking guy in the restaurant. He seems to know that she's on the substance too, and he goes, "It gets lonely, doesn't it?" And he's got marks on his body too that are really bad, and it seems like he's going through the same problems. And the guy, he goes, he's trying to warn Elizabeth that the younger version of her will continue to take life from her, but she is so shaken that she runs, unaware of just how important that warning would be. Yeah, the guy looked really old and stuff, but it sounded like his younger self was draining all of the life from him as well, making him older.
Yeah.
Well, as time passes, Elizabeth becomes more and more depressed in her own body. Watching Sue succeed on TV, she's like always like binge eating and stuff like that. Very depressed. Mm-hmm. There's like this indulgent sequence of more violently preparing food while watching Sue on late night TV. She's just a lot of marking. She's doing a lot of these mocking remarks, and she's getting mad. She's like literally making a mess in the apartment.
Yeah.
I mean, this cycle continues. So every time Sue wakes up, the apartment is trashed. And eventually, Sue becomes so sick of it all that she just decides to just be the younger form for as long as she can. She just keeps grabbing the liquid from Elizabeth's body into jars, and She's also given the biggest gig of her career. And, Dennis Quaid, he took her off the morning show, which at first she's alarmed and she thinks she's fired. But no. We want you to be the host of this New Year's Eve show. 50 million viewers, blah, 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 blah.
Oh, wow.
And she's just like all excited with this fame and everything like that. So Sue reveals in her revels in this, of course, while Elizabeth is wasting away in a purpose-built cupboard, basically. Sue kind of built this like special room it's in the bathroom, but it's like she carved out a place in the wall to make it so they could kind of hide away from each other.
Yep.
When they're not obviously together. So this total neglect of her original body leads her to running out of stabilizer fluid, and right before the New Year's Eve gig, and she has to switch with Elizabeth to allow more fluid to regenerate. Now, this is where it gets really out of hand, this movie. In all of the glossy, stylized sides of fame and notoriety, and it gets into full body horror at this point. Mm-hmm. Elizabeth wakes up, and Demi Moore, they did a great job with the makeup. I mean, she has completely transformed. Her body has aged so rapidly. She emerges from the bathroom, and I know one critic noted, remember that old decaying, womanly, ghastly image in The Shining?
Yep.
That's kind of what it reminds you of a little bit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Her skin is fragile, and the few remaining hairs on her head are very brittle. Deciding that she's had enough at this point, Elizabeth has had enough. She decides to end the experiment, and that's the thing. She literally had an opportunity when her finger was getting old. If you want to end it, you can end it now.
Right.
The voice on the phone was telling her. Oh, no, because she was, didn't want her other self to suffer. So it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So Elizabeth decides to end it after all. She phones the company, drags Sue from the bathroom, and injects her with this newly delivered termination fluid. Just called termination. So looking out the window at the billboard for the New Year's Eve show, Elizabeth realizes Sue is her only chance of reliving her heyday. So, of course, there's regret. She removes the needle, reviving Sue, yet the process still severs the two duplicates. Now, upon seeing the termination fluid on the floor, Sue is outraged. So she chases down her self, basically, and she smashes Elizabeth's face into the bathroom mirror, brutally beats her to death. Yeah, remember, you are one. That is flashing as Sue is demolishing her body, basically.
Right.
Are you having a hard time following this? Or?
No,
okay, because it's a lot to take in. I mean, the movie is almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
and like movies of this nature usually feel kind of lengthy, but this one didn't feel as long.
Right.
So Sue quickly heads to the recording of the New Year's Eve show with the hope of salvaging the night, but since she's misused the substance at this point several times, her body starts to rapidly decay herself. She spits out one of her teeth in the bathroom. Her fingernails begin peeling off, and one of her ears falls off.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of gory at this point. It reminds you of a David Cronenberg movie. You know how he doesn't hold back on the...
Oh, no. Not even a little bit.
She makes the decision to use the activator again to attempt to create a new version of herself. However... we get another version. So out of her back comes this monstrous fusion of both Elizabeth and Sue. It's a monster. You literally get a monster. So the monster attempts to get ready for the show, putting on Sue's dress and earrings before cutting out the image of Elizabeth's face from her 10-foot self-portrait. So basically she uses Elizabeth's cutout image as her face.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So the monster heads to the studio to appear on stage in Sue's place, but a lot of people are kind of horrified when they see the actual they think it's weird at first. They see, why is the face of Elizabeth on this person's? Yeah, the creature pleads and attempts to earn the audience's admiration by screaming, "It's me," but it sounds like "It's me,"
Yeah.
you know? But the security guards attack this monster and cuts the head off. However, because she's still got the activator fluid still pumping through it, the head simply grows back. A gruesome bloodbath is happening. Like you literally see this blood spurting out all over the audience.
Nice.
How's that for ratings, Adam?
Yes.
If it bleeds, it leads.
You're right.
You wonder if that's kind of what she was kind of saying as well. But eventually, the creature manages to escape outside before exploding into pieces on the pavement. From the gruesome entrails, Elizabeth's face is still intact and attempts to crawl away to some kind of safety. And this is where it becomes very cynical and satirical at the same time. Her face ends up on her own Hollywood star from the beginning. And Elizabeth hallucinates glitter falling from the sky before sinking into the star. All that remains of Elizabeth's sparkle is a pile of blood, which is quickly cleaned away by a floor sweeper the next morning. Wow. That's the movie, Adam.
Damn. That's quite the intense movie.
I don't know. Is that something you would want to watch?
I would watch it. I would watch it. You know, when you first said that you saw this movie, I couldn't. I was like, why haven't I heard of this movie? And I remember seeing the trailer for when I saw Beetlejuice. Yeah, I would definitely go see this movie.
Yeah,
this looks very interesting.
But I mean, talk about like a a cautionary tale of going after fame. I mean, this is. I've never seen a cautionary tale about going after fame like so, like bizarre.
Right. Well, I mean, there's a couple commentaries here. There's definitely the addiction to fame, and
right.
Then there's also the in Hollywood, particularly the addiction to having to look perfect, be perfect,
right.
and manipulating your body. I mean, look at Joan Rivers.
Oh, I know.
I mean, the only reason why she died was because she was 80 years old and going in for another plastic surgery.
Right.
And at 80 years old, your body
take it.
can't handle the anesthesia.
No.
So it's, I mean, it's.
But this movie also, the celebrity culture, I mean, these celebrities get old and they try to defy it and they do bad things to their body, and it's like an endless cycle.
Yeah, and some of them definitely get addicted to it. I mean, look at what Madonna's done to herself.
She looks like an alien herself.
Yeah, I mean, like
it, and even like Kenny Rogers. Okay, one of my record reps actually managed Kenny Rogers, and when they were just eating one day, Kenny Rogers is like, "I shouldn't have gotten the plastic surgery, the Botox."
Yeah.
Because it made him look like a completely different person.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You mentioned Kenny. All I can think of is Will Sasso doing him on Mad TV.
I never really watched Mad TV.
Oh, my God. It was so funny. But anyway, yeah, I mean, again, and they all do. I mean, look at Sylvester Stallone, the guy.
Yeah.
Hair plugs. I mean, he hasn't done anything to, like, physically to his face or anything like that. But clearly, if you look at him in the early 90s, he's got the freaking Dracula widow's peak, and now he's got a full head of hair in his late 70s. I mean, he looks good, but I mean, they all do it, and so like I said, some of them take it to extremes, and you can really tell that this is not working out for them anymore.
No.
And someone's not either they don't want to listen to it, or someone's not telling them to knock it off.
Right. Well, they were talking about, like, we were talking about Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah.
We talked about David Lynch. Obviously, David Cronenberg. Anytime anyone does a body horror film, it's like, was there anyone who did body horror before David Cronenberg? I mean, it's just, I guess there's some, but it's just, he was the one that kind of coined the phrase body horror.
Right.
Because his was just so gruesome.
Right.
Whether it's The Brood
Yep.
Or
I remember The Brood.
I've only seen clips of it, and those are etched in my memories forever.
Yeah.
And even a movie like Crash. Did you ever see that movie Crash?
I saw Crash.
You're aware of it, though.
Yeah, I'm aware of it. Yeah.
I mean, just couples getting off on crashing into each other with cars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of body horror movies out there, and I know, as I mentioned, Titane a few years ago.
It's a very popular subgenre.
Yeah,
it really is.
And it's, I mean, they do pretty well at the box office too.
Yeah. I mean, look at The Fly.
I know his version of The Fly.
His
yes.
version of the Brundle Fly. I mean, like that's. I mean, you look at it and you know it's fake, but it still made you squirm.
Right.
I mean, it just, and that's the thing about those movies. And we were saying that before we hit the record button. Like, there's something about this body horror subgenre that I can't figure out, because I can watch just about any horror movie and be cool with it because I know like the gore and everything is fake and done.
Right.
But there's something with these directors do with this body horror subgenre that still managed to make you squirm, even if it looks fake.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I suspend all disbelief in movies like this, but I mean, there were parts of this movie that made me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They really did. And I also wanted to make note of Sergio Leone. Famous, he's famed for his spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
But there was this one movie in particular that made me think of it while I was watching The Substance, when Dennis Quaid, being the chauvinist guy that he is, he's eating his food with his mouth open, and it was like a close up of the food and the sound amplified. There's this movie about the revolution that Sergio Leone did called, there's a few titles. Mm-hmm. Duck You Sucker, A Fistful of Dynamite, Once Upon a Time in the Revolution.
Fistful of Dynamite is probably the most well-known.
Those are the titles.
Yeah, I've heard that title.
Yeah. Well, you had Rod Steiger, James Coburn.
Right.
Well, when at the beginning of the movie where Rod Steiger is on this wagon with a bunch of hoity-toity, rich, snobby people talking about how the lower class is animals, you see a close-up of them eating, and it's the whole idea of they're animals themselves.
Right.
It was very interesting. But it makes you uncomfortable watching someone eat like that.
Yeah.
And that's a vibe I got. I don't know if Coralie was thinking of Fistful of Dynamite when she was watching that, but
right.
that sequence made me think of a Leone film. But from what I understand, Adam, I'm just reading some of the stuff here. This is considered to be an unofficial remake of The Rejuvenator. Did you ever see that movie from the 80s?
No.
This aging actress hires scientists developing youth serum involving brain fluid extraction.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, she takes it, but unintended consequences transform her into a homicidal creature. I mean, you just look up the... That's the cover, Adam. I don't know if you can look at it.
Yeah, I see it, yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Crazy.
Yeah, I never even heard of this movie. This must be really a small movie. I don't know any of the cast, never heard of any of the cast members. But Brian Thomas Jones is the director of The Rejuvenator. And not much is known, but he did a few movies. Monsters. I don't remember that. I remember the Monsters with Fred Savage, but
right,
that's Little Monsters.
Little Monsters.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this guy, but I've never heard of Rejuvenator either. So apparently, if you're interested in watching The Substance, maybe you've already seen the movie, check out The Rejuvenator as well. And that's another thing, Adam. The theater was almost half full when I saw this.
Yeah.
And there was some people leaving throughout the movie.
I mean, and you got a good one going if that's you got people leaving. You got to.
And there were a couple of lady friends watching it afterwards, and they didn't. It felt quite uncomfortable, and they probably were going to have nightmares. And
yeah, I mean, well, then you did your job if that's the.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you're shooting for, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there was a screening in the Netherlands, and about 10% left the screening prematurely. Wow. Some even crying. One person fainted. still 75% of that audience loved the movie.
Yeah, I'm looking at just like generic reviews, Chris, and I mean this thing's getting really, really good reviews.
It's average of a B rating, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
for a movie of this nature to receive a B rating is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean Rotten Tomatoes, gave it a 90%.
Yeah,
average rating, 8.2 out of 10. I'm seeing 77 out of 100 from critics. Yeah, like you said, spot on a B. On a A+ to F scale, it's hitting a B. So 4 out of 5 star. So I mean, this is we might have something here. As a quiet hit.
It might. I think it's grossed almost about $2 million.
Yeah,
$17.5 million budget. We'll see what happens. This definitely has cult classic
all
potentially.
Over. Yeah, sure.
And another interesting thing, I recognize the music when the final monster, the Elizabeth Sue monstrosity.
Yeah,
she's putting on her blue gown, makeup in preparation for hosting that. A piece from Vertigo was playing.
Oh, very cool.
Now, you want to talk, that's the ultimate movie about obsession. And that one, James Stewart is obsessed with how that woman looks, and she has to look a certain way.
Yep.
If you've never seen Vertigo, do yourself a favor and watch it. I mean, it's very difficult to find a greater film about obsession than Vertigo. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, okay, Hitchcock, Kubrick, David Lynch, Cronenberg, Leone influence in the same movie. Yep. Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting film. And, I gave it 4 stars. This one, I don't normally change my ratings for movies. I did for Old Boy. This could be kind of like that. I'll definitely watch it again. I don't know how long it will be before I'm actually going to give myself the oomph to try to watch it, because it's a heavy duty movie.
Yeah,
it's heavy duty. I'm going to warn you. It's I don't know. I mean, I know. What is it? The Reanimator. I've never seen that movie. That's kind of a body horror movie.
That is definitely a body horror movie, and it is a cult classic. And it is
Jeffrey Combs.
It is heralded. I mean, in the horror community, not many more movies get more praise than Reanimator. So that's a good movie we should review sometime. But yeah, definitely body horror. Definitely, it's there's not much more I can say about Reanimator. I mean, it's in the horror community, it's just like if you just say Reanimator, if you've seen it,
right. But I heard it's like one of the more disturbing body horror movies out there.
Oh, it has its moments for sure. it really has its moments.
I don't. Would you say it was more disturbing than any of Cronenberg's body horror movies, though?
No, because it's lower budget, and there is a tongue-in-cheek aspect to Reanimator too.
Okay.
So Cronenberg was serious, and he had the budget, and he had the Reanimator where the effects are great, and what they do is disturbing, and there is very much a tongue-in-cheek element to Reanimator, which I think is why it's so popular.
Right. Again, I think that one was a satire as well.
Yeah.
See, this movie is a satire. The Substance is a satire. And there's a couple of scenes that make you chuckle, but it's not really a funny movie.
Yeah.
As you can imagine. But The Substance is a movie I strongly recommend. I hope you get out there and see it. If you see it in the theaters, the sound is incredible. I mean, hearing this in surround sound in a movie theater setting, and hearing the audience's reaction. Again, that's what why we all love going to the movies. Yes, it's a personal experience, but you're also sharing that personal experience with other people.
Sure.
And this is a film that I highly recommend. It's one of the best films I've seen this year. Mm-hmm. So The Substance, again, I hope I made some sense in trying to dissect this film a little bit, because this is a very, very heavy-duty movie, as I've said over and over again, and it takes some time to digest.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it now. Like I said, when we first mentioned it on air, I couldn't really pinpoint where I had heard about this movie. But I do remember seeing the trailer during Beetlejuice, and I was interested in seeing it then, and can't wait to check it out.
Highly recommend it. The Substance, it's playing in theaters everywhere. And by the way, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X at Scared for Reals is the handle, and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you never miss an episode.
We'll see you next time on Scared for Reals.